Hold on. Imagine waking up tomorrow to find your dream South Florida home worth 15% less overnight, your insurance bill exploding past $12,000 a year, and your condo board slapping you with a $50,000 surprise repair bill you can't escape. That's not a nightmare. It's happening right now to thousands of owners from Miami to Naples. And if you think the Sunshine State is still the golden ticket it was in 2021, you're about to get a rude awakening. Smash that subscribe button, drop Florida Crash in the comments so I know you're paying attention, and let's dive into the data nobody in real estate wants you to hear. South Florida just hit 9.7 months of housing inventory, the fattest backlog of any major metro in America, which means if every seller panicked and no new listings appeared, it would still take almost a full year to clear the shelves. Compare that to Milwaukee scraping by on 2.7 months and you see the flip. The seller's paradise has become a buyer's buffet. But the real gut punch isn't the glut of homes, it's the insurance meltdown turning paradise into a financial prison. Homeowners who paid $3,000 a year in 2020 are now staring at $10,000 to $15,000 tabs, with some premiums rocketing 40% in a single renewal cycle. Private carriers have fled coastal zip codes like rats off a sinking ship, shoving owners onto Citizens Property Insurance, the state's insurer of last resort. At its 2023 peak, Citizens ballooned to 1.4 million policies, bigger than any private player in Florida, because nobody else would touch the risk. Fast forward to late 2025, and their depopulation push has trimmed that to roughly 570,000. But here's the trap. If a private quote lands within 20% of your Citizens rate, the state forces you to take it, so you're coughing up 19% more with zero say. That's not choice, that's coercion with a smile. Zoom out to the condo catastrophe, and the picture darkens.
Remember when a $400,000 beachfront two-bedroom skyrocketed to $1 million in 18 pandemic-fueled months? Surfside's 2021 collapse, 98 lives lost in a heartbeat, ripped the blindfold off decades of deferred maintenance. New laws now mandate milestone structural inspections for any building over 30 years old, plus fully funded reserve studies. And HOA boards are scrambling to stuff piggy banks they never filled. Special assessments are landing like meteoric hits. $30,000, $60,000, even $120,000 per unit in older high-rises from Hallandale to Clearwater. No wonder condo transactions cratered 20% in Hillsborough, 21% in Miami-Dade, and a brutal 27% around Panama City. Coastal condos, once the hottest tickets, are now the slowest to move, with experts warning they'll lag the recovery by years. Sellers are desperate. Naples alone has 8,000-plus active listings, 2,700 of them already bleeding price cuts, while Fort Lauderdale drowns under 19,000 homes begging for offers. Punta Gorda condos are down 11% year over year, single-family houses off 7.3%, and the dominoes keep falling. Migration, the rocket fuel of the boom, has slammed into reverse. Pandemic remote workers poured in chasing zero state income tax and endless summer. Now they're bolting for Georgia, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and Texas. Fully 48% of outbound Florida mortgage apps target those four states alone. Corporate return-to-office mandates are yanking tech and crypto nomads back north, and the international cash that propped up Miami's luxury tower spree is tiptoeing toward the exits. New construction? A ticking time bomb. Developers who broke ground at the peak are dumping 16,000 fresh apartments across greater Miami in 2025 alone, plus another 5,300 by year-end, slamming into a rental market where vacancies are climbing and rents are softening. Single-family buyers aren't immune either. Property taxes are ratcheting up to offset departing residents, and insurance isn't the only line item doubling monthly budgets. Florida's infamous hurricane deductible runs 2 to 5% of insured value, so that $1 million Boca retreat leaves you personally liable for the first $20,000 to $50,000 every time a named storm sneezes on the roof.
Andrew was the last direct major hit on Miami-Fort Lauderdale, 1992, 33 years ago. And actuaries are betting on another 3 decades of grace. They're pricing climate risk in real time, and the bill is landing on kitchen tables. February 2025 closed sales slid 10.2% year over year. Inventory ballooned 34% in places like Palatka. And even retirement havens like The Villages are watching for sale signs sprout like mushrooms after rain. Analysts aren't forecasting a 2008-style crater. Subprime isn't the villain this round. But targeted 10% drops through 2025 feel conservative for Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota, and Naples. Miami might cling to single-digit losses thanks to foreign buyers hunting bargains, yet cracks spiderweb even there. Gainesville, the Space Coast, Lakeland Winter Haven, all flagged very high risk for 15% haircuts. Days on market are stretching past 90, 120, even 180 in saturated pockets, handing every buyer a sledgehammer of leverage. Sellers dangle closing cost credits, rate buydowns, free HOA dues for a year, anything to stop the bleed. Commercial overhang mirrors residential pain. Office vacancies tick up as hybrid work calcifies. Retail strips built for yesterday's foot traffic echo empty. This isn't cyclical, it's structural. Lower Fed rates might juice affordability elsewhere, but they won't conjure private insurers back to Hurricane Alley, won't erase sea level rise baked into FEMA flood maps, won't magically fund decades of skimped condo reserves. The psychology has flipped. Florida isn't the promised land, it's the place smart money is quietly fleeing. Middle-class families, snowbird retirees, first-time buyers who stretched for that slice of paradise. They're the ones staring at negative equity, crushing carrying costs, and a shrinking exit ramp.
If your insurance now outpaces your principal and interest, if a six-figure assessment lands next quarter, if the buyer pool evaporates while inventory swells, you're not in a dip, you're in a slow-motion squeeze. Data points scream it. 9.7-month supply, Citizens 1.4 million policy apex, condo volume off 10 to 27% countywide, outbound migration at levels unseen since the Great Recession. Even a quiet hurricane season won't rewind the clock. Risk models are forward-looking, and the forward view is stormy. So if you're eyeballing a purchase, pump the brakes. Let the market shake out the desperate sellers and over-leveraged speculators. If you're sitting on property, run the numbers cold. Total monthly outflow, resale comps minus 10 to 15%, liquidity of your buyer pool. Waiting too long could mean competing with thousands more in the same boat, all racing for the same shrinking life raft. Subscribe right now so you don't miss the follow-up where I map the safest zip code still holding value, turn on notifications, and tell me in the comments, are you riding it out in Florida or already packing for Georgia? The Sunshine State's reckoning is here, and the only question left is whether you'll see the wave coming or get buried by it.